How's it going, everyone? I'm Dylan, and this is All You Can Fjord. Yes, that's right, we are rebranding, and I'm sure you have a lot of questions, but honestly, this has been something that we've been working on for a while now. You've probably heard the rumors up until this point that we are rebranding, and they are true, and we are now, you're probably wondering, like, are we still gonna be focused on board games? Absolutely, but now we're gonna be focused on Fjord games. So specifically, this channel is gonna be designated to games about fjords and other fjord-related content. And why are we doing this? Well, it's pretty simple. There is an undiscovered niche on YouTube, and that is fjord-related content. You can search fjord on YouTube. I recommend you do to see some of the beautiful footage and imagery that is there. But I would say that there isn't content that's available that is up to the standards that, we would like to bring to fjord content. And we think we could really do something for the space, and especially focusing on fjord games specifically, because that is a market that, and an area of YouTube that is completely untapped. And on top of that, Carlo and I are located in Winnipeg, and there is just a distinct lack of fjord-related content in Winnipeg, and even access to fjords in general. So even just locally, we're hoping that we can bring some, new eyes onto fjord-related content, onto fjord games. A fjord is often referred to as nature's board, so it's just a perfect fit to now focus on fjord games and really bring that to our audience and break away from how many content creators there are on YouTube that do great stuff. Now we can focus our time specifically on fjord games, which we think is somewhere that content creators really haven't spent their time yet. So today is obviously the kickoff, and we thought there was no better way to kick things off than me breaking down my top 3 fjord games of all time. That's right off the get-go, you're gonna find out what my top 3 fjord games of all time are. And you're probably wondering, why only top 3? Why not top 10 or top 5, any other number? Well, it's pretty simple. There are only 3 fjord related games that are available to purchase, to buy on Board Game Geek. So, this is one of the reasons we're entering the market. If we can get more eyes on fjord games, eventually we'll have more games we can cover, and this top 3 list, there's a good chance that next year it could be a top 4 list, which would be a huge deal for the fjord gaming market and the fjord gaming content space. So again, all the support that you guys can, give to us in terms of sharing these videos and this fjord related content, we'd really appreciate it, just to get more fjord games into the market. So let's just kick things off right away. My number 3 fjord game of all time is Fjord. So Fjord, it's the last spot of all of the fjord games that are available. This is the bottom of the list, but don't take that as this is a bad game, because this is a great game. But honestly, the reason it has to fall in at number 3 is that it is not a true pure fjord title, and that's because it's actually Fjord. The other 2 games on this list are pure fjord titles, and I really couldn't feel good about putting Fjord above them, when really what we're trying to highlight is pure fjord games. This just sneaks on as having fjord in the title, but I wouldn't call it a pure fjord game that is putting the focus on fjords. And that's what we're really trying to bring to the space, is more eyes specifically on fjords in the fjord games. We've done board games. This is a fantastic board game, probably arguably could be the best one on this list, but it's not the best fjord game. So that's sort of where the distinction needs to be made. So it's a good game as well. There's a bunch of game stuff that you do in there, but it's again, we're talking about fjords today. So that is Fjord number 3. Number 2 on the list is a game I don't actually have here, but I will have it soon. I was hoping it was going to arrive in time for this video, but unfortunately it did not. And that is Fjords, the 2022 reprint. So this is a game I'm going to be receiving very shortly, and let me tell you, the representation of fjords is everywhere in this game. The artwork by Beth Sobel represents fjords in a way we've never really seen in fjord games before, and it's got it in the title. The title is Fjords. This is a pure fjord game. Everything you do, you're crafting fjords. You're building a board in the first phase of the game. It's a 2-phase game, and in the first phase of the game, you're really, crafting those fjords. You are going to be able to look at your board after and see this beautiful landscape, this beautiful fjord that you've helped create. And there's a second phase of the game too, but because that's area control and less about fjords, we're not even gonna really talk about the second phase. I would almost even recommend, if you're gonna play fjords, you could almost, if you're a fjord game enthusiast and you're playing fjords, I would just ignore the second phase of the game completely. It might hamper, who wins and the scoring, but really you're gonna have the purest fjord experience if you just play the first phase of this game. Trying to area control fjords, that's not what fjords are about. It's not what fjord games should be about. This is is about the pure fjord experience of crafting a beautiful fjord and then just sitting back and enjoying it. So that is number 2 fjord game of all time, Fjords. Number 1, could it be anything else? Number 1 fjord game of all time is Fjords, the original Fjords. So this one, I honestly don't even know the exact year it came out, but this is a rare game. It's hard to find these days. I'm able to play it at my local board game cafe. I've been lucky enough to play it there multiple times. It's one of the reasons I backed the reprint, is because you can't find the original. And the reason the original is higher is it's just hard to top the original, the originator. I mean, that's one of the reasons I'm so excited for the reprint, is because of the existence of the original. And I have to give it its due credit because of that. Everything and really our entire channel rebrand and the idea of Fjord games comes from Fjords. I mean, this is the purest of pure Fjord experiences. The artwork is dated, sure, and you know, the tiles might now be trumped in terms of artwork by this new version of Fjords, but it is really hard to top the original Fjord game and the original Fjord experience when it comes to tabletop games. Those are my top 3 Fjord games of all time. I'm super curious, what are your top Fjord games of all time? Let me know in the comments. Are there any Fjord games I've completely missed? There are 2 honorable mentions that I couldn't include for specific reasons. One of them is Fjordar. Really, it's unreleased, first of all, so I haven't played it. Second of all, again, sort of like Fjord, they've added a couple letters onto there. It's not the pure Fjord experience. I could have added on like Fjord, but because it's unreleased, I figured it didn't make sense. The other one is Lord of the Fjords, which that one I really wanted to include because, I mean, it sounds like a pure Fjord experience. It takes Fjords and says now you can be the Lord of the Fjords, which to me is super exciting. Who wouldn't want to be the Lord of the Fjords? That's really what we're hoping to be in the space of Fjord games, is the Lord of the Fjords, of Fjord content creation, I should say. But that game, as far as I know, has not been released. There's a single forum post on it where someone says, when is the release date? That was about from 4 years ago. So again, if Fjord games, if that did get canceled, Fjord games are getting canceled left and right or not being released because there's not enough of a market for that. And that is what we're here for. That is what All You Can Fjord is here to do. So if you're as excited as we are about this new direction for the channel, let us know in the comments. Let us know what other kind of Fjord related content you'd love to see that is in the Fjord game space. You know, are there any other Fjord games you used to play at home with your family that are not, you know, official tabletop games, but maybe it had to do with, you know, in the same way that people play like tic-tac-toe on paper. Maybe you were playing Tic-Tac-Fjord or some sort of Fjord related experience that you want to share with us that we can, you know, bring to our audience. Otherwise, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you so much for watching. As always, if you want to support all of our Fjord related content, you can find a bunch of ways in the description below. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching, and April Fools.